the city of Madrid, the city of Girona, and the city of Coruña. Toledo, Mexico, how wonderful from over there as well. Excellent. Same here. Thank you so much to those in America and Europe for connecting. It's a pleasure to have you here. And we're going to get started, but first, an introduction. My name is Pol Victoria. For those who don't know me, I greet you like this with my usual hat. It's a pleasure to be here. I come from a crypto background. I've also been in other sectors, in other types of markets, in other types of companies. But I've been in crypto since the year 2017, when I founded the Austro-Libertarian School of Crypto Economics, and I've guided hundreds of people in the crypto world. So I have that background, as well as others that you can also ask anything you want about my career. And I was analyzing this with my colleague Christian, this great project, this initial idea from years ago. I think for about 5 years now that we've been analyzing it. But then we've had a shift in the project where I finally saw that it was ready to launch and to succeed. And that's why I said, well, I'm getting fully involved in this now, because now with the latest shifts and refinements made to the initial idea, I'm ready to give it my all for this project and as a team, because this is the time to get in. So with all this excitement, now that I've introduced myself, I also thank you for your presence here, to everyone present, to those already involved in the project, and to the newcomers arriving, many of whom will also join. I ask for your focus. I ask you to take pen and paper, take notes. Obviously, if you're driving, taking pen and paper could cause an accident, so don't go to that extreme, but do be as focused as possible during this presentation so you understand the project and can then make an informed decision. This conference is going to be recorded. I would love for as many of you as possible to have your cameras on so we can interact, so I can see people. If you're listening to me, if you're understanding me, and to see your faces, I'd really appreciate it for better interaction between the speaker and the audience. I want to start by ruling out, before continuing and explaining the project, which you're already seeing here on the screen on the first slide, this tokenization protocol that gives ecological meaning to blockchain technology. But first, I want to rule out those who shouldn't be here so that those who should be here are. And that means that this project, in my opinion, is not for every type of person. Some people think that putting bills under the mattress and only saving that way is the only way. Others think that only in the bank, getting 1%, 0.5% annual interest, any crumb, that makes some sense. Or that it's the only thing that makes sense. So I think this project isn't for those people either, or those who think the only way to invest is in real estate or traditional or very old things, etc. This is not our vision. We're in the 21st century. We have new technologies. We have totally different new forms of investment. And this is for people who have an open mind and say, I'm going there, or because you've already invested in alternative investments, or because even if you haven't, you're open to considering it. And for the first time, you can say, hey, here it does make sense to step away from the traditional and go for more profitable, more 21st century versions. I also want to say that I know many here were invited by others, some out of obligation, like I'll listen to my friend, he's being very pushy, inviting me to this thing he says is wonderful. And others, on the other hand, trust the person who invited them and say, well, wherever this person goes, I go, and I trust that person. But in any case, I'd like you to have maximum concentration and to understand the project. And if you eventually decide to participate in the community, let it not be just because of trust in your friend, which is fine, but also because you understand the project and because you see that it makes a lot of sense. So if you rule yourself out, do so with complete peace of mind. It's nothing personal, but it's clear to tell you. And if instead you have an open mind for new things, this is the moment and this is the opportunity. I'm going to start by saying what this screen says. It's a new era converting renewable energy into crypto assets with zero energy. And I'll give a presentation of, I hope, about 20 minutes and then questions and doubts at the end. So for now, we won't have interruptions. And at the end of the presentation, you can note down what doubts you have and ask me when I finish my explanation. So this is the value proposition to the market, converting renewable energy into crypto assets and being a bridge between the crypto world and tokenization with the real energy world. We're going to talk first about the problem, the energy problem, and then about what we're going to want to solve. But the problem right now with the energy market, you already know there's a trend to eliminate energies that cause pollution and promote clean energies or green energies as they're called. But as it's been done, it has several types of traceability and verifiability problems. And so all those carbon credits are produced so that polluting companies can buy these certificates to offset the pollution they cause. But the problem is that sometimes they are sold twice or even 3 times. Sometimes it seems like one person bought it, but someone else has 2 and it's been resold. So there is no traceability of where that carbon credit is at any given moment. In other words, if it's authentic and only one company has it, or if it's been resold so several have the same one. Basically, there is no method that can give us any certainty about what is happening in the energy market. Also, everything produced by micro producers is currently left out. All those individuals in their apartments, families in their homes or on their farms who have, for example, solar energy or geothermal or wind energy, but most commonly solar, who are not entering that market for green production energy certification. So there are some inefficiencies in the market, and that is precisely why we want to propose a solution. And in that, emerging solution that will be zero energy. Our mission is to provide that traceability through the blockchain so that it's known where the energy certificates are, so it can be verified that there is indeed that green energy production to offset pollution, and that if someone has bought it and owns it, it's verifiable that only they have it and it's not shared among 5 or 10 others, which would be a forgery. So we are going to bring a level of truth to the energy market that it lacks today and that blockchain can provide, because since these carbon credits aren't on the blockchain, it leads to a lot of confusion, forgery, and so on. And also to give micro producers access so they can also participate in those requirements for green energy and can be compensated for renewable energies and rewarded for that contribution to the environment by producing that green energy. So what are our objectives? Thank you for asking. Our objectives are, on one hand, to turn zero energy into the, well, actually not just on one hand, but primarily, and I would say at its very core, to turn zero energy into the definitive leading energy tokenization protocol. In other words, our main aim is to make zero energy the standard, the benchmark, and the go-to solution for energy tokenization in the industry. What does definitive mean? It means we corner the market. This isn't a company starting as a micro enterprise or an SME or something that only reaches a local level. No, no, no. The project of this company, of this initiative, of this organization, of this community is to be able to be the leaders in energy tokenization. That is, to provide the solution so that all the companies involved in this entire green energy market can use our blockchain, our platform, our highway, so that it becomes the way they conduct their energy certification transactions and that they trust our protocol and it becomes the main one. And since there isn't one of those in the world, by launching this project, we thought and planned and we aspire to be the main one. It might sound very grandiloquent, yes, but that's not fully understanding the scope of this project. We are using those words because we are truly aiming high. We are aiming to be, let's say, the business and community powerhouse that provides that solution to that entire energy market. We want to be a universal green bridge to unite green energy with the new trend of tokenization. And here I can recall a somewhat similar project that some of you will know, which is called, well, the token is XRP. The project is called Ripple. And it was originally born quite a few years ago. And what it truly aspired to become was the main highway that would connect international bank transactions. Banks too, just like the energy market I'm mentioning has dysfunctions, banks also have dysfunctions and have a lot of inefficiency when transferring money between intermediaries, between different countries, between different banking systems. And what Ripple proposed was essentially, let's create a universal interbank platform so that money transfers can be much more agile, significantly faster, less expensive, and more efficient overall. So in that sense, we want to do something somewhat similar, but for the energy market, to be the platform used by all the companies that are involved in green energy. And that way, well, we're not going to do it through a standard company that registers in the commercial registry of Spain, Mexico, the United States, or any country. That's not the case. What we're going to do is a DAO foundation, a decentralized autonomous organization, which is what DAO stands for, a decentralized autonomous organization. So I don't know if you know that concept, but it's another form of governance where it's not a central entity, a person, an executive who does it, but rather it's the entire community that governs this organization. We believe in an ecosystem where producers, companies, users, investors, everyone participates actively in those decisions that drive the protocol. Therefore, the holders, that is the token holders, will be the ones who vote, decide where the community goes, what decisions are made. That's why it's decentralized, because it's done among everyone. They are joint decisions. Anyway, there's a team. 8 people have started this project as drivers, but more are already joining. A few hours ago at 6 in the evening, at least one person in the audience who was listening dove right in and also has a lot of experience in both the crypto economy and the energy sector. So it was perfect for him. And he said, I can contribute this, 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 and this. So they can join the team and help this project prosper. So there is a core team, 8 people starting it, but this will be 16, 32, 64, and many more of those who are actively collaborating on the project. And that's why altogether, well, we build this community, which is much more than just a company. Let's talk about blockchain technology. This is very important. Maybe there are some here in the audience who still don't understand blockchain technology, which was born in the year 2009. Well, strictly speaking, since 2008, the first white paper by Satoshi Nakamoto, the one for Bitcoin, was already starting to take off. And at that time, Bitcoin and blockchain were essentially the same thing. But then the protocol was copied to make other copies and improvements and other types of products and services, different blockchains to meet different market needs. But originally and currently, the blockchain is the most secure system that exists. There is nothing more secure than Bitcoin. You might believe that your money in the bank is safer. That's false. And I'm not referring to security in terms of price stability. Obviously, Bitcoin changes in price. It doesn't mean security in the sense that you can't lose money with Bitcoin. Speaking of system security, Bitcoin's blockchain works with a security that connects hundreds of thousands of computers in a decentralized way, and they reach a consensus of the majority of them to verify the truth of things. Therefore, it doesn't depend on a few humans like in the bank. A human can come in and enter and change what you have in your account. A person intercedes, and here, no. Here, a person cannot, no matter how big a player they are or how powerful they are, intervene in blockchain technology or tamper with it. For example, Bitcoins, when it is already sufficiently consolidated. So therefore, it is a technology that can become much more secure than other systems. And one of the variants of blockchain technology is tokenization. So we are in an emerging trend of tokenization that is expanding across the world. And in this case, our focus is on the green economy, using the tokenization of renewable energy to generate a real and very verifiable impact in the markets. But what I want to highlight here is that blockchain technology security, and that we are with the right system, in the right place, and likely in the right trend now. This is a screenshot of CoinMarketCap from a little while ago, where Bitcoin is at $52,000, as you can see up there. Now it's at 80-some thousand at this moment. It can fluctuate, but Bitcoin has a tendency to grow, as you all will have observed over the years. Bitcoin, along with other crypto assets, already make up $1 trillion market. When 15 years ago it was absolutely nothing, it was zero, or it was ridiculous. So every year the crypto market grows and grows and grows. So we are in a very abundant market. We are in a market that is not only the future, but the present, the most explosive market, not only that exists today, but that has existed in the history of humanity, because no market has grown so fast from zero to trillions in a matter of 15 years. Many other examples can be given after Bitcoin. If you go to coinmarketcap.com, you will see the entire market capitalization of all crypto projects. You can see 5,000 different crypto projects or more, and they started with zero. I mean, Bitcoin was worth zero. It was worth 10 cents. It was worth $1, $10, $100. It has been increasing to $1,000, to $10,000, to $80,000, to $100,000. And it's going up, and I have no doubt that in the next decade, we will be at more than $1 million per Bitcoin. And other coins have had their results, sometimes faster, sometimes slower, but it is an impressive growth. XRP, for example, a colleague told us in the previous presentation a few hours ago that he had bought XRP at 8 cents, and then it had gone up to $4. In other words, he had multiplied his investment 50 times over. And so by 50, yes, well, more or less. I, for example, was also telling them about helium. I had multiplied the investment 40 times over. And so you don't always get those returns, sometimes more, sometimes less, or even sometimes you can lose. You have to be very careful. But what I mean is that as far as growth potential possibilities go, there is nothing like the crypto market. And that's why I said at the beginning of the presentation that those who don't have the capacity to see beyond their mattress, so their bank that takes their money and then lends it to others but gives them no return, etc., or those who only know how to invest in real estate and are not open to other things, well, maybe they find it hard to understand this, and maybe they are not prepared for this type of investment. But in this case, since we have already made that selection, and I understand that the people who are here are those who do have at least an open mind or have even already had experience in alternative investments, then they will be able to understand this market. And in fact, they will already know what I am explaining to them, and that this is unparalleled by any other market. For example, in BTC, that is Bitcoin, I had the opportunity to get to know Bitcoin at the beginning, back in 2011, 2012, 2013. But nevertheless, since it was difficult for me to access the first Bitcoins, because the technology to get to that was more complicated, it became difficult for me, and I didn't try hard enough, and I didn't get there. And then I got into Bitcoin in 2017 afterwards, but I could have had a gigantic revolution, absolutely gigantic, if I had been one of the first when Bitcoin had a very low value. That's why this opportunity is so important, because what we can do is get in at the beginning of a project which I unfortunately didn't do with Bitcoin from the very start. But in this case, we are proposing a contribution of value to the market so powerful that we can be there from the beginning, and something that can have a gigantic revaluation driven by all this crypto market that doesn't stop growing and growing and growing. Therefore, it's a new opportunity where we can be in from the beginning, as I already said. What I want to talk to you about here is global tokenization, the trend we are in. There are many large companies and major investors who are adopting tokenization in very diverse sectors. For example, in Marbella, in Malaga, in Alicante, there are already many apartments or entire buildings that are being tokenized. So maybe a person doesn't have enough to buy 5 million euros that a building or a hotel is worth. But if tokenization is done, it's bought among 800 people, and each one is a holder, a possessor of some tokens that represent some square meters of that construction. And then among all the token holders, well, they own the entire building. So it's something that's already happening, to give an example. And there we see how important companies, BlackRock, for example, which is one of the largest, has entered, like UBS, which is a very important Swiss bank, or Credit Suisse, another Swiss bank, or AXA Insurance. I mean, that is to say, this is happening, that the big players, as they say in English, are entering tokenization. And probably in the 30s, the entire world of real assets will be tokenized. That is to say that something that exists in reality is represented with digital tokens that people have on a blockchain to be owners of things. Therefore, we are here talking about another global trend. And furthermore, with energy being the most important market in the world, because everything that moves in the world requires energy, and therefore everyone is consuming energy permanently, and it's a market, the most giant of all. If we enter to tokenize energy, we are entering with all the strength of the energy market itself, which is gigantic, with all the strength of the market trend, which is for everything to be tokenized and for us to be among the first who are in energy tokenization. And if we add to that what I explained in the previous slides, which is the power of the crypto market and its revaluation and the security power of the blockchain, putting it all together at once, I mean, it's an absolutely winning project that fills me with all the excitement possible. Everything I just explained to you ends in, well, it doesn't end, but rather I need you to understand that the zero token is the vehicle through which this entire ecosystem that I've explained to you works. That is to say that the blockchain exists, which gives security to those energy certificates that it doesn't have today, and that we propose to contribute that value to the market that no one else is contributing, that we do a tokenization of those energy certificates so that all energy certificates work effectively, truthfully, and traceably. Entering the crypto world is what can give us the most potential for appreciation, because, as I said, it's the largest market, and therefore, and also in the energy market, as I already explained, all of that is united by a token called zero. In that context, I've explained, is where the zero token arises, or zero, however you want to pronounce it, so that we can use it as an asset for personal enrichment, because we are providing added value to the market. In other words, the appreciation we'll have with the zero token, which we plan to be this way, is because we're providing a real solution to the market. And that's why, and because it will be known worldwide, it will gain value and value and value. And we can also benefit economically from that appreciation. So where do we stand right now? Here I'm showing you 6 steps of the roadmap. Obviously, it could be explained in much more detail, but this is like the summary of that roadmap we've taken. We first did a development from an initial idea that we discussed with Christian since around 2020, but it evolved over time, and we've been working on it all these years with the rest of the team. to the development of the platform now with a more concrete idea and the final polishing needed to make it a winning project. This entire platform has cost hundreds of thousands of euros to develop, and it's now functional. And we've done all the verifications to ensure there are no errors and that everything is working very well. And we're already at step 3, which is the pre-sale. Now, the pre-sale is explained. After the pre-sale, Web3 integration will come, meaning the entire construction of the blockchain. Then step 5, which is the launch of the token to international markets, meaning the exchanges, both centralized and decentralized worldwide, so that all international markets know our token and it's launched and we can give it a valuation because people believe in it. And then the tokenization of that energy market, taking all those plants, wind farms, solar parks, or family micro producers and all that energy production, certifying it on the blockchain and producing tokens for it. So all those steps we're going to take. We're now at step 3, which is the pre-sale. And what does this pre-sale consist of? Where do we come from? Where are we going? And where are we now? We're at the point where in this token pie, 1 billion tokens or pre-tokens will be produced, because later when we have the blockchain built, they will be tokens properly on the blockchain. But for now, in this pre-sale or pre-token process, we'll have the 1 billion, which will be the same ones that will be duplicated on the blockchain. Of those 1 billion, half, 50% will be allocated to staking. To staking, because it's we'd have to explain it in the tokenomics, but it's where by token holder staking, it will produce more tokens that are then sold on the market and can generate massive income, automated income for the holders of those tokens. Then there's 30%. That portion goes to the DAO, which stands for the Decentralized Autonomous Organization, and it is used to reward the people who are actively working on the team, as well as to support the entire structure that we require to operate effectively. In addition, 20% is what will now be released specifically for the pre-sale event, so that pre-sale has a scaling mechanism, a rebate system, which is what we're now going to offer as a special promotion. This way, we can benefit in advance from all of that future market potential and growth that is expected to come. So it's like a ladder. We're starting with a 90% discount because the token will launch at $1 on international markets once we do all the advertising in all the news outlets, in newspapers and digital media where crypto projects are promoted. We launch the token, and when it's on the DEX and SEX, that is centralized and decentralized exchanges, we launch it at $1. And for now, we can have a 90% discount because we're going to start at 10 cents. At 10 cents per token. How much? Only 5%, not of the total tokens, but of the total pre-sale, that is of the 20% or 200 million. So at 10 cents, 5% of those 200 million is when we'll raise the first $1 million. A colleague asked me yesterday how many years it would take us to raise $1 million. And I said, no, that's a matter of weeks or a few months at the very most, because this moves very fast. So people are going to want to get it at 10 cents first. Of course, the first ones to find out and who make the decision to take advantage of this opportunity. And once that 5% is gone, the next 10% from 5 to 15 will sell at 25 cents and so on to 50 cents, 65 cents, 75 cents. So as people find out and make their decisions, they'll be buying the tokens at a discount. But imagine you're among the first and you're in the first phase at 10 cents. What happens is that you can have tokens at 10 cents, and when it launches, the token on the blockchain to international markets at $1, you've multiplied your value 10 times. If I put in 10,000, I'll have 100,000. If I put in 100,000, I'll have €1,000,000 or dollars in market valuation. In my case, for example, since I'm very committed to the project and believe in it long term, I'm not going to just sell everything at $1. I'll probably sell a portion, recover my investment, and make some profit, but I'll leave a good part of it so that when the token keeps growing, because what our team wants is for this to be a long-term project, not a fleeting one, and to have a real token on the markets, not at $1, but at $5, $10, $20, $50, or even $100 per token. So I'll want a much higher appreciation later on. But it's true that at least I can have the peace of mind to say, well, my tokens now at 10 cents will at least be at $1, 10 times their value in the near future. So this is the ladder, and you'll wonder what's done with this capital raised as it goes up the ladder. Well, this capital distribution is shown in this wheel because the previous wheel was about how the tokens are distributed. Now, this wheel shows how the capital raised by that token presale is distributed. So there will be 50% for project execution. This means we'll explain it better in the training sessions we'll have. In the coming weeks, for everyone who joins our project, we'll provide training so you understand this whole project very well. This is just like a 20 or 30-minute presentation explanation, and that's it. But you'll understand how it works. So 50% is for execution. It means we'll need all that capital to fill the pools where crypto exchanges from one token to another take place. In case you don't know how it works, pools are set up with half and half of a token, so someone can exchange this for that, and another can exchange that for this. So if the pools are very small, what happens is they can empty very quickly, instantly, and the price can drop very fast due to a lack of liquidity. So if we fill the pools, making them very stable and very large, we can try to consolidate the price so it stays at $1. And we can, based on the value we bring to the market, that price of our token will keep increasing from $1 to hopefully $5, $10, $100, and so on. So we need that money for that price maintenance and project consolidation. 10% for the company itself, company costs, salaries, platforms, technology, innovation, advertising, and so on. And 40% is set aside for what is known as the expansion plan. The expansion plan in any company refers to the portion that is specifically reserved for sales and marketing. Like what Coca-Cola does when they say, hey, I'm going to launch my product in a certain country. They run ads, pay for billboards, TV, radio, and all kinds of showcases so people know the brand and to introduce their product to the market. Our difference is that, let's say Coca-Cola does 40%. I don't know the exact figure, but it must be around that. Instead of spending it on TV ads for our token, what we're going to do is distribute it among the promoters. There are investors who say, hey, I'll buy this token at 10 cents and then sell when it's at $1 or $100 and multiply my value. And then there are the promoters who haven't just invested, like the investor, but also help expand the community and keep expanding it as much as they can. And we reward that expansion, meaning for bringing your friends, we compensate you so the community keeps growing. It's very important to understand this because I recently saw an ad from, I think it was Vodafone, that said, bring a friend and we'll give you 15 euros for connecting a friend of yours to Vodafone. So the person goes ahead and does it. Well, in this case, it's similar, but much more generous. And we're going to distribute 40% of the revenue among the promoters so that the community grows much faster. And it's important that you also understand the community aspect, because one of the main reasons for a community to grow is, sorry, not for a community to grow, but for a crypto project to grow, it's the strength of the community. When I taught my students at the Austro-Libertarian School of Crypto Economics how to analyze projects, how to see if they were serious or not, and see their potential and know whether to invest or not, well, we had several different parameters. But one of the most important parameters was analyzing the community. We would check how many people are in the Telegram groups, how many people are on Signal, how many people are on Discord. I don't talk about WhatsApp because WhatsApp isn't serious and no one in crypto is on WhatsApp. But on Twitter too, what kind of community was there? How much power did it have? How much activity was there? Not just the numbers, but also how much they participated, how much people commented, how much they got involved in the project. So by measuring the power of the community, you could predict how far the project could go. What would Bitcoin be without a community? Sure, at first it was just a few people, but it gained strength as there were believers in the project, and it grew over the years until now it has millions of believers around the world. But for us, if we only had 100,000 people involved in the project, we'd already be breaking through the ceiling and reaching our goal of one day having that token among the top 100 most important cryptocurrencies in the world. So how do we grow that community? Through television commercials? It could be, but the best way is to compensate the promoters, because that way we bring in people who believe in the project and also benefit from it. Much more loyal, much more cohesive, because those who come are the friend of a friend of a friend of a friend. And it's all through word of mouth and all brought in because we distribute 40% of the revenue among the community of promoters. Now, how is it distributed? Well, in this way, across 3 levels, you bring your friends, your 10 friends, your 80 friends, and you're paid 20% of the investments they bring in. That is, they make their investment, the company or the community receives all that capital, and from that, 20% is given as compensation, as a reward, as a bounty to the person, the promoter, who brought in that small community from their circle, so they get paid. And then if those friends bring other friends, it's another 10%. And if those friends bring other friends and they bring more friends, it's another 10%. So up to 40% in total is distributed from the community that joins Zero Energy through you. And that 40% is shared among everyone. This is very important because this is what will be the stimulus. This is not only the stimulus for you in particular, for me in particular, for each one of us, but it's the stimulus for the entire community. Because when a community has such generosity and rewards, what it does is grow and grow and grow. And that's why I know it won't take, as my friend told me yesterday, years to raise $1 million, but it will possibly take weeks because this is moving very fast. I mean, right now we are 20 people. A few hours ago, we were another 20 people. That's 40 people on the first day. But then next week it's 80, and the next 160, and the next 320. And it keeps multiplying like a snowball that starts very small, but then it goes faster and faster and faster. So being able to reach 100,000 people in the community could be a matter of months, not years. And raising $100 million could be a matter of months and not years. And that would give us everything we need to be able to push the project with all our strength, put all that money into the in the blockchain, in the stability of the pools, so that there is a correct financial plan in the crypto media outlets, etc., to then promote the token once it's already in the major international markets. Therefore, this is how it's distributed. And therefore, the person who invited you here, because not everyone here is a friend of mine, there's someone I don't know. So ask the person who invited you for that link so you can join the community. You can benefit from that, be rewarded, but also you should thank them. Because if one day this increases in value by 10 times or 100 times or whatever the amount is, you can only be grateful to your friend who brought you to this great opportunity. So as final thoughts, because I want this presentation to be more or less short, and then I'll open a round of questions if there are any doubts. What I consider is that this is an opportunity similar to a nuclear bomb, something that is going to explode. It's of tremendous strength because we are with the trend of tokenization, where everything is being tokenized in the world with the security of the blockchain and all that wonderful technology it involves, with a growing crypto market that has gone from zero to trillions of dollars, riding that whole wave, and on top of that in an energy market that is gigantic. And for us to be among the first to enter to tokenize energy, not an apartment, not some bricks, no, but energy, which is the largest market in the world, it's a fabulous opportunity. That's how I see it. That's why I got in. I don't want to repeat what happened with Bitcoin, which I didn't get when it was worth $5, $10, but I got it when I don't remember how much it was worth, but at least $1,000 more, already more than $1,000. So I missed all that appreciation by not having at that time the technique of how to get in. But in many of the crypto projects that are coming out all the time, it's because you don't know they're coming out. And by the time you see them listed on Binance or CoinMarketCap, they're already very high. But who tells you where the real opportunities are? Who tells you Bitcoin is at $1 here? Well, nobody finds out about those things. Or who tells you XRP is at 8 cents or 4 cents? No, you see it when it's already at $4. So this is a unique opportunity because we're catching the project from zero from the start at just a few cents. And if we manage to make it worth dollars or tens of dollars, there will be a massive multiplication of our value. Of course, nothing is ever truly guaranteed. And you definitely do not need to sell your kids to join this project. Far from it. But if you see the opportunity, if you think this is a train that passes by and might not pass again, that you see that chance to get on board and take advantage of that extraordinary potential appreciation and join a project from the start, from almost zero, so you can have that great appreciation. That's my presentation. Thank you very much. And I'm opening the floor for questions and doubts. Thanks for the thumbs up like that. I'll give the floor to whoever raises their hand, either digitally or physically, if your camera is on, so you can. Hey, I see a lot of congratulations and applause here on the screen. I don't know if you see it, but well, if you liked it, then great, thanks. Gentlemen, either everything is so clear and you're so smart that there are no doubts and no questions. It's possible. Jonathan, hand raised. You have the floor.
Brother Paul, well, first of all, thank you very much for such an excellent explanation because it was great. I'm here at work and I've heard everything and everything was understood perfectly. First of all, well, my only question is where do we buy the token or where do we make the investment? Thanks. I don't have.
Look, since another person asked me a few hours ago, hey, but on the website, there's no way to make the investment. Of course, because we want it to only be possible through friends of friends so that no one jumps the line. We want to distribute and reward everything. So you can only enter with a referral link from the friend who invited you. In your case, it's me, so I'll send you the link privately, and then you register with that, and then we start building a community. and then you'll have your own link where you can bring your friends, and that's how we grow the community like a giant snowball. So we have 100,000 people as quickly as possible, and therefore a real position among the leading projects in the crypto market. Thanks, Jonathan. I'll send it to you later.
Thanks, Brother Paul. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Gentlemen, does anyone have any other questions, ladies and gentlemen? Or is everything crystal clear? With that, I've already answered everyone else. Anyone who didn't come through me, but through a friend, should ask that friend for their link and thank them for this opportunity right from the start, and not when the price is already high. Aida has raised her hand. Hello? Aida has raised her hand. But honestly, I don't know if you're actually on mute.
Hi, Paul. Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
Okay, good evening. Thank you so much for the presentation. I understood it perfectly. The question is, when did the sale of these tokens begin?
Today.
Oh, okay. I was asking in case I was already late.
No. 4 hours ago, still in the coming weeks, you can buy it at 10 cents. Later, when it goes up to 25 cents, you can still buy it, but at 2.5 times the value. So if you're going to do it, I'd say the best thing is to do it now.
Perfect. And another question. So you're starting with us with this group.
Well, a few hours ago with the previous one, you're the second group.
Okay. So I want to think you're starting at the Spain level. Will this only move within Spain, or are there other people moving in other countries?
Aida, we've started in Spain. We're all from Spain, but there was already someone from Colombia in the previous presentation. I don't know where you're from. There's another person here from Mexico. So it's a matter of starting in other countries, moving it to other countries. We're completely open to it, expanding. Also, on the Telegram channel, we have Spanish, English, and Portuguese to also include Portugal and Brazil, and keep expanding to other countries. So you can be a leader who brings people in and helps the snowball grow faster, because the more we all contribute, the bigger the snowball gets and the more real everything becomes. I mean, if the token reaches $100 and we're among the top 100 cryptocurrencies in the world, we literally become multi-millionaires. So that's the goal, Aida.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much. I'll message you privately so you can send me the link, please.
Perfect. Are you my guest, Aida?
Yes.
Okay, then message me privately on Telegram at Pol Victoria, and I'll send it to you there.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Good night.
Good night. Thanks, Aida and Jonathan, for participating. Is there anyone else who wants to participate? Victor, Sergio, Peperito, Pedro, German, Eva, Danny, Cesar, Carlos, Bea, Alfonso, all the people I see here, those who don't have a name listed. Does anyone have a question or doubt or comment or contribute? Because you can also say, hey, I have a great idea because I want to be part of the community. Well, just so you know, collaborators, I mean, besides making your investment, imagine you put in a certain amount and get your tokens. But on top of that, if you collaborate on the project with ideas, with input, with any kind of contribution made, you'll be rewarded with more tokens, so you can increase your stake and then even have more of a voice and a vote in the decentralized community that will be making the decisions as we move forward toward the blockchain and the real market. Gentlemen, any others? Or if there are no more and it's all super clear, then just ask the person who invited you for the link, and that way you join the project, register, and you can invest whatever amount you want. It could be $100,000 if someone feels it's worth it and can and wants to bet on it, or 50,000 or 20,000 or 10,000 or 5,000 or 1,000 or $100. I mean, whatever each person freely wants, whatever they can afford based on their finances, whatever they are willing to bet and risk and put in there to have an expectation of appreciation. And with that bet, everyone doing it as an adult, as a responsible person, each making their own decisions. Well, it's a matter of getting on the train or not. It seems there are no more questions. I see some applause over there. Well, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. So we'll say goodbye now. Let's put on some music and bring lots of energy so we can make this huge. Remember the snowball concept. The faster we make it grow, the more credibility it has. That's how it happened with Bitcoin. That's how it happened with Ethereum. That's how it happened with all the cryptocurrencies in the world. The important ones, let's try to be in the top 100 with this token. And remember, if Pepe Coin has made it, if Shiba Coin, if Dogecoin, which is a piece of junk cryptocurrency, and it's in the top 100, which adds nothing to the market, has nothing behind it, and is nothing but a game. And here we have a project that provides value to the market, that solves an energy problem, and that improves and makes the energy system more efficient. If the market understands what we're contributing, then we have a great chance of being among the top cryptocurrencies in the world. Thank you, gentlemen. A big hug and see you soon. Bye-bye. Thank you.